If you are thinking about filing for divorce in New York and you have tried to go onto the court website and you have felt completely overwhelmed by the process, by the documents, by all of it, well, guess what? You are not alone. And today's video is for you. Today I am starting a step-by-step video series showing you exactly how it is that you can file an uncontested divorce in New York, specifically through the NYSCEF system. NYSCEF stands for New York State Court Electronic Filing System. Today we are going to talk about that system. You are going to see on screen exactly what the system is, what it's not, who it can help, maybe who it cannot help, and then we are going to start an account together online in real time so that you can follow along step by step. I know how overwhelming this can feel, but trust me, if we take it in little bites, you can do it. Most people don't realize that filing for divorce in New York isn't just filling out a form. I just need to file, yes, I want a divorce, and file it with the court system. There's actually a series of documents that have to be filed, and they have to be filed completely correct, completed entirely, and in a certain order. So you can't just file everything at once sometimes. You have to make sure that every single signature is accounted for. You have to make sure that every single form is uploaded that is required. And sometimes this can feel very overwhelming, which is why we are not going to cover everything today, even though we're going to cover a lot, because there are a lot of nuances. What if you have children? What if you have a business? What if you have retirement accounts? There are so many different nuances when it comes to getting divorced and so many individual needs for people. So today what we're talking about is what the system is, who this is for, and how you can start by making an account. This is literally 101. This is where we start in order to move forward. My goal in this series is education-based only. I am a New York divorce attorney, but I am not your attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. What I'm doing is educating you on the ways that you can file for divorce through the electronic filing system, should you choose to do that. However, before you pick up a pen and you sign any document, no matter what it is, these documents are legally binding. So I highly suggest that you get an attorney in your area to review it with you so that you fully understand what your legal rights and obligations are before you file. Because there are so many people who cannot afford those astronomical fees to pay an attorney to go and do the filing for them when they've had everything discussed, sorted, and worked out with their soon-to-be ex, and they have it all written down on paper, and now they want to make the next step and file it. This is a big deal for a lot of families. This is a big cost-saving step when it comes to getting divorced in New York. And there are so many barriers when it comes to getting divorced. Financial is a big one. So if you can save money on this one step and do it yourself, again, after you've had an attorney review all of the documents with you, then I highly suggest that you try it. You can follow along and see if this process makes sense for you, if this tutorial makes sense for you, and if it doesn't and you feel overwhelmed, certainly reach out to Divorce Den and we can see if we can help you file through the NYSCEF system. Because I do want to be clear that this series is going to be talking about filing for divorce through NYSCEF. Again, the New York State Court Electronic Filing System. This is not for family court. This is not if you need to file something for custody, if you need to file something for child support modification, if you are filing for a post-judgment where you want to litigate something. Supreme Court is where you get divorced in New York, so this is only through Supreme Court, not through family court, and this is only applicable to the counties that actually have the NYSCEF system set up. There are still some counties in New York that may not allow for NYSCEF filings. So you might have to go in person or you might have to choose their other electronic method, which is not necessarily filing, but there's another way around it. So again, what we're narrowing down on is most counties in New York allow you to get divorced electronically through their system as long as you follow all of the steps, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. For anything outside of that, we can certainly talk about that more in future videos, but today, let's get into NYSCEF and how you can file for divorce electronically and pay very, very little. Okay, first, let's start with what NYSCEF is. I know I said it already. New York State Court Electronic Filing System. This means that the documents that you file through NYSCEF are actually considered filed when you upload them into their system, and it goes to the county clerk's office. So all of the documents get filed, whatever it is that you're filing, and it sits at the county clerk's level, and they check through everything to make sure that you have everything correct, that you're not missing any documents, that maybe there aren't missing signatures. And these are just humans who are looking at this. So can those things get missed? Absolutely. But for the most part, they do a very good job of looking through everything that you filed. They have their own checklist to make sure that they have everything that they need in order to take the entire package and then send it over to the court. When you file, it does not automatically go to the court. It goes to the county clerk, they check it off, then they assign a judge, and then the judge's part receives everything once it's all ready to go. And please keep in mind that once you start this process and everything is e-filed, meaning that it is now filed with the court, this all becomes part of the official record. So it doesn't mean that mistakes can't be made that can be fixed later. Of course they can. However, I do highly encourage you to make sure you are taking your time, reading every single document in advance, signing nothing until you are sure what it says and until you've had the opportunity to have an attorney review it with you. Because once it's filed, most things can be fixed. Number one, you want to make sure that they can be fixed. Number two, it generally costs you more money, right? If you make a mistake and file something that's part of the official record, well, now you have to go back and correct it. That's going to cost you more time and more money. And you want to ensure that it is not going to be filed and signed by the judge before you go back and correct it. Because at that point, it is a lot harder. It is a lot more expensive to go back and try to fix that. Again, the NYSCEF system is for Supreme Court. Supreme Court in New York is the only court that can issue a divorce for you. If you have custody issues, you have child support issues, you even have parenting issues later on after the divorce, you can go to family court. Family court can hear those matters. So in other words, they have jurisdiction over it. Supreme Court has jurisdiction, and family court has what they call concurrent jurisdiction. So either one, they can both hear those matters. However, to get divorced, to have a divorce decree actually signed, and you get a judgment of divorce in your hand, only Supreme Court can do that. So when you're filing through NYSCEF, all of these things, again, are going to the county clerk and then going over to Supreme Court in order for you to get divorced. So let's talk about what NYSCEF is not. NYSCEF does not tell you what documents to use. You do not log in and they say, tell me how many children you have. Tell me if you have a retirement account. Are you selling the house? What are you doing with the animals? What are you doing with your cars? And then they give you the exact forms and highlight where it is that you have to fill out and sign everything. They do none of that. It is a system where you go in, you pull the documents, you read them, make sure that they're the ones that you need, you complete them, you sign them, sometimes you have to have them notarized, and then you upload them. There is nobody in the NYSCEF system that is going to navigate and tell you exactly what documents you need. They're not going to point you in the right direction. They are assuming that you're going online, you're pulling the right documents, completing them properly, and filing them properly. The NYSCEF system does not check your documents for accuracy. While they might check for the signatures, making sure that everything is correct before it moves on, they're not going to check that your kids, Jack and Jill, that their social security numbers are right, that their dates of birth are right, that maybe you have filled out the child support calculations correctly. That's not their job. That's your job. And NYSCEF is not necessarily going to tell you if you filed something correctly. When I say that, what I mean is if there is a blatant error and you file an affidavit when it's supposed to be an RJI, which we'll talk about later, there is a clerk that will flag that and reject it and let you know that you need to file the correct document. However, if it's an affidavit that you have filed, but it's an affidavit of the plaintiff or the affidavit of the defendant, which you will need at the end, and instead you have uploaded an affidavit of service, there are many times when they are not checking that. You upload the affidavit and then it moves on. Again, there are human beings behind this, checking this. Are they pretty careful? Yes. However, if they see affidavit at the top, they're moving on. They are not there to go through this and give you legal counsel as to how it is that you should fill these things out correctly. And most importantly, no one in the NYSCEF system is going to give you legal advice. There are times when a document will get rejected, and it's usually automatic through the system. However, every once in a while, you will get someone who will email you from the county clerk's office, and they will say, hi, I am John Johnson, and you filed something incorrectly. Please send us this correct document. Don't start emailing John Johnson and asking him, oh, did I do this correctly? Or do you think that I should fill something else out instead? Do you think that I should notify my spouse? Do you think that I need an attorney? That's not their job. No one at NYSCEF, specifically the system itself, but definitely not any of the clerks who are reaching out to you, are going to give you legal advice. They cannot do that. They are prohibited from doing that. Their job is to take your documentation, ensure that they've checked all of their boxes, and then they move it on to a judge. If you need any guidance when it comes to reviewing these documents, again, Find an attorney in your area to review with you. If you have any questions, make sure to reach out to Divorce Den. You can always use our online system to ensure that you have all of the documents for your specific situation. And I know we mentioned it already, but not every county in New York uses the NYSCEF system. There might be another way to file electronically or to upload electronically because it's not actually a filing system. NYSCEF is an actual filing system where when you upload, it gets filed with the county clerk, it gets stamped and everything, and then it gets sent over to the Supreme Court. However, if your county does not participate in NYSCEF, there is still another workaround through the EDDS. We will talk about that in another video. However, it's important that you look on the NYSCEF system, on the court system, to see if your specific county actually does participate in the NYSCEF filing. Because before you do anything and you start taking this deep dive, you want to make sure that your county participates so that you know exactly what direction to move in. So now we are going to move on to the third section and talk about who this system really works best for. And this is where we are going to now start taking a deep dive. And let's start with finding out if your county is up there. So now before you move forward with even watching the rest of the video or even deciding if you're going to file electronically, you need to ensure that your county participates in the NYSCEF system. So let's take a look here and see where it is that we are as far as the NYSCEF system. So where we are is on the home page, which you can see right here at the top. And what's happening is we are looking at the New York State Courts Electronic Filing System, NYSCEF. Now right here, authorized courts and case types. This is going to tell us exactly who can and who cannot file for the electronic filing system based on the county. So we want to click on this so you can see if your county is eligible. The court type, remember we can only go to Supreme Court. Supreme Court is where we will get divorced. Load the courts. You want to make sure that you're clicking load the courts. Now you look for your court. Look for your county. My office is downstate on the island, and we mostly operate in Nassau and Suffolk County. So here's Suffolk County. We can click this. I know that Suffolk County does participate, but this is how you do it. You give it one click, load the case types, and let's see. Suffolk County Supreme Court. The following case types are available for e-filing in Suffolk County. Great. So now let's check another one that I'm not familiar with, one that I have not filed in before. Let's see, Tompkins County. I don't know Tompkins County. We're going to click it, then again, load case types, and let's see. The following case types are available for e-filing in Tompkins County. So now you know that if you live in Tompkins County, you can file. We'll try one more, one again that I'm not familiar with. Columbia County. I don't think I've ever filed in Columbia County, so now let's again load case types and see what happens. The following case types are available for e-filing in Columbia County. So again, there we have it. Those three that we just tested, they are available for e-filing in New York State. So now I want to be real with you and very honest about who this might work for and who it might not. Sometimes people are not comfortable doing things online, and putting in your personal information like your summons, your complaint, your affidavit, these documents are going to have your birthdays, your address, your social security numbers, your insurance information, and you're going to have to file them electronically. Number one, sometimes people are just very uncomfortable sharing that information electronically. Number two, sometimes people are not comfortable or competent with their tech abilities, their ability to sit down and navigate a system, even with a step-by-step tutorial like this. So you really do have to at least be comfortable enough to start to learn, to start to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to figure out step one, then do step two, so on, and upload my documents that are going to have some sensitive information in it. Because you certainly don't have to be a tech whiz, but you do have to at least be comfortable enough with technology to navigate around, to know that sometimes you're going to make a mistake, to understand that there will be times, and I'm not saying maybe, I'm saying there will. Guaranteed, there will be times when the system glitches, when maybe it is very slow to respond, when you think you uploaded something, when you think that you filed something and then it's never there because the system didn't accept it. There are times when the systems, just like any other electronic system, might fail. So you have to be comfortable enough to know when to navigate, when to step back and have a little bit of patience, and when to push forward. So now let's talk about the things that you will need. If you know that you're at least comfortable enough to move forward, to give this a shot, here are some of the things that you're going to need in order to move forward with filing with the NYSCEF system. You will definitely need reliable internet service. You're going to need a computer and you're going to need internet service. And like I said, no matter how great your internet is, whether you have the fastest speed available, whether there are no issues with your internet, know that you're going to have to be patient, because sometimes with the NYSCEF system on their back end, there are glitches, there are things that happen, and sometimes it crashes, sometimes it's down for hours, and then you have to go and restart and try again. So put on your patience pants, but know that you do have to have a reliable computer and reliable internet. Number 2, you're going to need the ability to scan. So there are so many apps out there on your phone for scanning documents. I'm not talking about taking a picture. I'm talking about a proper scan of a document that can be uploaded. On your phone, if you do use a scanning app, you need to scan it with your phone, then email it to yourself, and then send it from your computer. Because uploading things into NYSCEF is not going to happen from your phone. Again, you need that computer. However, you can use your phone to scan documents. If you have a document that is 2 pages, great. If you have one that's 30 pages, great. You can still do that on a lot of the apps that they have available for smartphones. Some of them even come with those apps already. They come with the feature to scan. So make sure that you have the ability to scan, whether it's with your scanner or printer, sitting on your desk, whether it's the computer that we keep in our pockets. Make sure that you have the ability to do that. You are also going to have to pay electronically. If you're filing electronically, you have to pay electronically. So they're not going to accept cash. You have to have a credit card or a debit card, and you have to pay at the end for filing certain documents. And you will have to have an email address that you check regularly. This can't be an email address where all of your spam goes to. Trust me, I have one of those too. When you're signing up for some promotion, it has to be one that hopefully is dedicated just to this matter. You can start a whole new one. And one that is private to you. It's not one that maybe the entire family shares. You know, sometimes there are people who have an email that maybe the kids are on as well for school projects, for any of that. You don't need anyone else seeing your documentation coming in through the NYSCEF system. So preferably it's private. It's your own, and it's set up separately from your other email address where you would get normal emails. This is just for the divorce action, and you can always shut it down when you're done. And just keep in mind that when anything is filed through the NYSCEF system, you will be notified via email. I highly suggest that you save all of that documentation. You download it and you save it in the computer, you save it on a hard drive, and then you also save it if you want to print it and save it in a folder, maybe put it on a flash drive, whatever makes the most sense for you, but certainly keep a copy of it. The NYSCEF system will also have it saved in there, but again, sometimes the system's down and maybe you need that document now, and you don't want to rely on an outside source. When you get this notification, whether it's a receipt, whether it's that your document's filed, and again, it will be stamped at the top, save it. That's yours. Make sure that you're saving it. You can even put it in order. So again, when we're talking about who this works for and who this doesn't work for, some people are much more comfortable saving those things digitally, some people are not. So you just want to be cautious and understand that everything that you upload needs to be very legible. This is why I said it has to be a scan and not a picture. The court's not going to accept a picture, but even a scan, you know, sometimes on the ends it gets a little smudgy. You need to make sure it is a very clean copy, not only because it might not get accepted, but what if it does get accepted and it has that smudge on the bottom where you can't read it? That's the official record, and then it's not going to be able to be read, whatever those last 3 or 4 sentences are. And they're important. They might be meaningful. So you want to make sure that you're checking every single document that you scan, that you upload, and that you receive back as a receipt. And remember, what we're talking about here is you filing on your own. If you have an attorney and you are represented by an attorney, your attorney will do this through their system. However, if you are pro se, which means you are participating in this divorce action, but you are appearing with no attorney, if you're appearing pro se, just know the courts have to treat you fairly. They will treat you just as fairly as they would if you had an attorney, especially if you're doing this in an uncontested manner. So if everything makes it past the county clerk's office and it gets into the judge's chambers and the judge has a question, that has happened from time to time, where they reach out and they send an email, make sure that you are responding to that email from the judge's part. The judge is going to always be respectful to you, so always be respectful to them. Sometimes they just have a question about, you left out a document, or there are 2 documents here, but they contradict each other. What did you mean? and then they might guide you on, you need to upload a new document. Again, they're not going to give you legal advice, but they might tell you that there's something wrong with the documentation before they can make a determination. Just know that that does happen sometimes. It's not common, but it does happen sometimes, and I don't want you to feel like you have to panic or feel like you did something wrong. It might just be an error, a very small error that can be corrected. As much as you can, ask the court for guidance on what document they need. They're generally pretty helpful. I can't make any guarantees. However, I do just want to remind you that the judges are going to be very respectful of you, so make sure that you're being respectful of them and their support staff. So now let's talk about the costs, because the costs are real. And of course, this is going to save you a lot of money if you're filing on your own as opposed to having an attorney do this. However, there are still costs associated. There are filing fees that everyone has to pay, except there is the opportunity to apply for a waiver at the very beginning for no fees to be involved at all, and that is based on your income. However, we're not going to address that today. What we're talking about is you have prepared, you have mentally prepared, you have your internet prepared, and you are ready to move forward. Let's talk about what the costs are. Okay, so the uncontested divorce overview. Down here, if we go to the fee waiver, and then we come down here to the filing fees, you can check the filing fees. This way you can see how much everything is. Again, that index number, $210. The request for judicial intervention. This is where we are asking for a judge to be assigned. Judicial intervention. That's $95. Then there's the note of issue, which basically says that everything pertaining to the divorce that you need has been completed, has been filed, and you are ready to go. Sometimes they ask for this before trial, which obviously you're not doing a trial, but that is $30. Then a motion, we're not filing a motion. We're not demanding a jury trial, none of this. The stipulation of settlement is important. This is what it is that you are actually agreeing to. This is your legal contract, the stipulation of settlement. If you have property, if you have custody of your children, if you're selling a house, no matter what, you're going to have a stipulation of settlement. That is the legal contract between the two of you. It's not your divorce, but it's your agreement. That is going to be $35. The court gets a copy of that as well. So we are looking at $210 plus the $95 plus the $30 plus the $35. I believe that comes to a total of $370. So again, those fees are the required amount that have to be filed with the documentation. That is for you to prepare everything on your own and for you to file everything on your own. This is the mandatory fee that has to be paid for you to get divorced. Those are just the court filing fees. There's also an affidavit of service that will be needed. And there are times, it's not here because right now what we're talking about is uncontested, where the two of you are able to agree this is where you want to file. However, there might be times where you have to take that summons with notice or the summons and complaint and pay a process server to serve the other side. That's an additional fee. Again, even if you come back and you file everything later, if you can't maybe get a waiver of service or have your soon-to-be ex sign off that they are waiving service, meaning I don't need formal service, then you have to pay for a process server to actually serve them. And even that's not fully true. You might be able to have somebody else serve them. I just don't suggest you have your best friend or your mother or your neighbor go and serve them. So hiring a process server might be best. But that's not what we're talking about here. This is the uncontested application through the NYSCEF system. The both of you are agreeing. So I'm sure your soon-to-be ex is going to sign off on that waiver. So now let's get to the juicy part. We are going to now go into the NYSCEF system in a little bit more depth, and we are going to get your account set up. You are going to start from the ground level up so that this way you know exactly what you need to do when it's time to set up your account and when it's time for you to move forward. So we are going to take this right up to you signing up. You know your information. I'm not going to put in your information, but I'm going to walk you through the steps to get you there so that this way you have your account ready to rock and roll when you're ready to file. Okay, so let's dive in. We are here on the New York State Unified Court System. This is the electronic filing system, the live system. I know there's a lot here. There's a lot here. The appellate court, the civil court, the court of claims, family court, all of it. But what we want to do is we want to start here. To e-file without an attorney, see right here? Visit our unrepresented litigants website. So we are starting from the home page, and then we are going right here to the unrepresented litigants. You're going to click that. Now what we have here is filing papers over the internet, which is what we were talking about, the e-filing. There are two ways here to consider filing. You want to, either you have an account, that's where you're going to log in, but we don't have an account yet. However, what we want to do is we're either going to create an e-filing system so that we can be the one to file, which is going to be a new case, or we have already agreed that our spouse is going to file and we are going to file our consent on an existing case. So let's start with one, meaning that this one is the more complicated one, or this one's going to require a little bit more, because now it's all brand new. You have not filed a case. Your soon-to-be ex has not filed a case. So you want to do a new case. Obviously, you would want this new case here. Let's click it and see what happens. Here we go. We're going to create an account to start a new case. Again, you're going to need an email address. You're going to talk about how those legal papers are delivered. Again, they have to be served, so we want to make sure that we're thinking about that as far as either a waiver or having your soon-to-be ex served. So the account that you create can be used for one case. Again, attorneys can use it for multiple cases, but for you, this should be your only filing. I don't think you're getting divorced more than once. So let's create an account to start a new case. You have to look at the website terms of use. You are basically agreeing that this is going to go through New York State filing system. All of this information is going to be private. It is not going to be mined or sold, that it might be automated, that it's not going to be directly linked to any website without your express written permission. There can be no unlawful use or attempted unlawful use of the system. Using your password for e-filing is the same as signing a Part 130 statement. So a Part 130 statement is an attorney stating that everything that is being submitted has a legal basis, that there is nothing in there that's false, there is nothing in there that is being used to strong-arm someone. It's all factual. That's basically what it's saying. So when you're signing in here, you are signing as if you are swearing under oath that all of this is true. And the e-filed court papers will be delivered, again, served on you through your email address. So you agree and you understand you have to click on those terms. So here is where you're going to create an account. You're going to fill in all of the information, your name, your mailing address, and your email address, and then you're going to create your user. And then bam, then you're going to have your account, you're going to have your username and your login information. Make sure that you put that somewhere that you can save it. Maybe you have an app in your phone, maybe you can write it down somewhere. It's very easy to forget these things. As long as you remember the email address, generally if you forget your password, they can always email you to re-log in and set up a new password. So now that was us just going through how to set up an account for you if you are going to file for divorce. If you're going to file that summons with notice or the summons and complaint in order to start the divorce action. However, what if your soon-to-be ex already started the action, but you also want to participate in the NYSCEF system so that now you can get your documentation as well? Let's talk about that and let's look at what that means. So again, just like before, we are here in the main page, right, the home page, and we are looking at the Welcome to New York State electronic filing, and we want to file without an attorney, unrepresented litigant. That stays the same. What does not stay the same is this, because your soon-to-be ex has already filed this. Now you want to file to an existing case. That means there's a case already out there, and right here you want to file to an existing case. So now you need to, again, read the terms of service. All of this is very, very important, so you want to read through it. And when you click on here, you are basically agreeing to it. Family court cases, we're not interested in this because, again, don't forget, in New York, it can only be Supreme Court, Supreme Civil Court. That's what's going to get us divorced. So you agree? Then we continue. There we go. Now here is where you need to fill out an electronic filing authorization. So basically what you are saying is, I am the person that I say I am, and what I am doing is swearing that, you have to put in the case information here, I am swearing that I consent to e-filing. So because you were not the first one to initiate the action, you are going to put in the court, right? So if it's Suffolk County Supreme Court, the caption is going to be, Jones v. Jones, right? So Jessica Jones versus John Jones, and you are a person seeking to use NYSCEF as an authorized agent. So this would really be if you have an agent like an attorney. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for you, right? You want it to be you. You're an attorney and you are a party to this case. That's you. Your name, you can fill it in here, right? You are Jessica Jones. and you are not an attorney, you're going to put in your index number 1111 of 2026, and you're going to put in the court, and they usually give you a drop down. There we go. Whoops. So we want to put in Suffolk County Supreme. Where are we? Suffolk County Supreme. I know you're here. There we go. Then the caption, again, we want to do Jessica Jones versus, I forgot what we said. Did we say John Jones? Jessica Jones versus John Jones. And you're agreeing. This is basically what you're agreeing. The email address that you're giving them is the one that they're going to keep on file here in NYSCEF, and that you are authorized to be the account holder there. You are not giving them someone else's email address. All of this has to be completed, filled out, and then sent right here. See this email address? Whoops. I know I can get it. There we go, right here. So then you would send this in so that this way now you receive the information that you are able to file electronically. Again, there's more for you to fill out here and for you to sign. Let's go to the bottom here because you need to make sure that you're signing this. And if you're not an attorney, they are asking that you have this notarized. And then you complete it and you send it back here. Email is really the preferred method for you to send it back, because the reality is that if you're asking for everything to be done electronically, they want to see that you send this back electronically. You do have to print this document in order to get it signed and to get it notarized and to move forward. However, you don't have to continue to do that as you go forward. This is really going to be the only one that you need to take a hard copy, print it, complete it, and send it back via email. Everything else is going to go through the electronic system once you're in there. And you get notified pretty quickly. It doesn't really take that long. If you were to fill it out today and email it back, I would suspect by tomorrow, you know, depending on the weather, the storm that we just had recently, if there's some shutdown at the court, if they're having a problem with their system, it could take an extra day or so. But it really does not take long for you to be put into the system, and then you can start receiving notifications, and you will see everything that is filed with your matter in the electronic filing system. I just want to stress this because I have seen this many times where people make the mistake of thinking that I can manage this for both of us. You cannot manage it for both of you. How it works is you file for one, and then your soon-to-be ex files for the other. Two of you have to be electronically filed in order for you both to get the information electronically. You're not going to be able to file and then start getting information for your soon-to-be ex. So again, you just want to make sure that you're both doing it and you both have email addresses where you can check this regularly. And so we're just going to talk about some of the terms that we hear thrown around a lot before we start to wrap up and then talk about what we're going to be doing next time. So one of the things that you hear a lot is DRL. What's the DRL? That is the domestic relations law. Everything in pretty much all of these documents that you're going to be seeing, reviewing, and signing off on are going to reference the DRL. The domestic relations law is what governs divorce in New York. It governs everything related to marriage and everything related to divorce. So domestic relations law is going to come into play when it comes to spousal support, child support, whether it is asset division like your retirement accounts, selling your house, selling your car, debt, all of those things. So that's really the overarching law that is going to be prevalent throughout your matter. And it doesn't mean you can't agree to whatever you want. It's just one of those things that you're going to see. It's the umbrella law that covers everything. And the index number. You are going to apply initially for that index number. The index number is basically the identifying number for your case. There will not be another index number in Suffolk County, in Supreme Court, with your name for that number, because the number is going to be assigned only to your case. So I put in there 1111 of 2026. So if anyone looked up 1111 of 2026, they could not be assigned that number because it's your number. When you file for that number and you are assigned that number, it's usually pretty quick, maybe a day or two, sometimes a few more days depending on the system. That doesn't mean you're divorced. What it means is the action is filed. That is generally considered the cutoff date, right? The day you were married is when the marriage began. The cutoff date will be when you file that index number. It doesn't mean your marriage is over. It just means generally the court is thinking this is the length of your marriage. And no matter what you file throughout this matter, that index number is going to be on every single document. That's going to identify, again, if we have Jessica Jones and John Jones, pretty common names, right? That could be a lot of different things. So you're going to have Jessica and John Jones along with that index number. Something else that I talked about and I sort of skirted over was the RJI. That is the request for judicial intervention. That literally assigns a judge. That's all it's saying is, I am now asking you, county clerk, with this document to file this and to assign a judge now. So I'm requesting the judge to intervene, requesting judicial intervention. So that's basically what that means. And something else that we touched on was the note of issue. The note of issue also has to be filed, basically saying that everything is settled. We have everything that we need here filed with the county clerk, and we're okay with everything getting sent over to the judge. A few other terms as far as documents that we did not touch on, but we will certainly be touching on are, there are certain affidavits. Plaintiff's affidavit and the defendant's affidavit. Sometimes there are worksheets for child support calculations if you have children. There is also the stipulation of settlement. That again is the legal document, the legal contract between the two of you. We'll talk about that in more depth as we go forward. But these are things that you should get familiar with because you're going to have to review them. Again, hopefully with your attorney. And you're going to have to make sure that you're filing them correctly under the correct drop-down for the correct document when you're uploading everything into the system. We'll be doing that in another video, but these are other things that you have to sign off on. This is not just a one and done when you're getting divorced. There are a lot of other documents that are coming. That was literally just a little taste. And please do not panic that you didn't remember the ones that I just talked about or all of the ones that are coming. We will do a bigger breakdown and make sure that we explain them all. And we're also going to have them on an uncontested divorce worksheet that we're going to be sharing with everyone so that you know exactly what everything is. And when you forget, because you will, you'll have this to go back and reference. And don't forget, this is just the beginning of the series. This is a lot of information for you to take in, to digest, to get yourself set up with the account, to make sure that you have your password, to make sure that you have your login information so we can get you started. So in the next video, we are going to start talking about the documents. We are going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the documents that you need if you have no children and you have no assets to divide. There will be several videos because there's going to be a lot of different scenarios. You might be saying, wait a minute, I have no assets, but we do have children, or we do have children, but we don't have a lot of assets. Again, one step at a time. And then from there, we will build step by step. And if you are feeling overwhelmed, even after watching this, that is normal. This is not what you do every day. So it is fine to take a step back, take a breath, and make sure that you're taking your time, watching this video as many times as you need, pausing, and honestly reaching out if you have any questions. If you have any questions about the e-filing system, drop a comment and let me know. Because all of this legal ease piled on top of the emotional strain that you're probably under is really a lot. So again, take this step by step, make sure that you reach out and let us know maybe what your situation is and maybe what you would like to see a video on. We have no problem doing that. And when I say that, I mean, I'm not giving anyone legal advice. I have to say that over and over again. I'm required to. I don't want anyone here thinking that you should just sign a document willy-nilly and then file it. You really should have sound legal guidance when you are printing something and signing it and filing it with the court. It can be made into a court order and there can be real ramifications, whether it is legal, whether it is financial, and that obligation doesn't go away just because you didn't have an attorney review it. So again, get an attorney, review your documentation, and then come back and you can file everything. Don't forget to join us next week on Divorce Den, where we start to take step by step in our uncontested filing system through NYSCEF. If this video was helpful, and if you know anyone who is getting divorced and they might find it helpful, please be sure to like, to subscribe, and share it with anyone else who might benefit. Until next time, take care, and we will see you soon.